Hey everyone, Brian with the Chronicler's Tale. Humanity is going through phases where it's trying out different things. I make this in reference to a lot of ideological things that we do. And I refer to them as ideological distortions because there are things that work in a society, in a culture. These things, I think we saw this in the United States in the 2024 nationwide elections, that we had veered very far from a pragmatic path that worked. And there we go. And on this path, pragmatic things work where if you want to achieve a desired result, there's things you need to do. If you want to have the best school, you get the best teachers. You recruit the best students. If you want the best aerospace company, you hire the best engineers, the best managers, the smartest thinkers, the most creative ones. There's something to be said about pragmatism. And one thing that I've noticed, say in the last 30 years, more so in the last decade and change, is that humanity is trying out different ideological ideas. They're applying these things. And essentially what they're boiling down to is you could describe them as distortions, ideological distortions. Because the implementation of these ideologies, say things like preference based on cultural, racial, gender demographics. And making policy because there's a good intention to do things based on an observation of, well, people of this demographic group, of a said demographic group, are having a certain set of outcomes. So what can we do to try and offset this? What can we do to offset any bias, whether it's real or not, perceived or not? What can we do to implement policy on the species? And so we've tried different things, and we found that, well, if you say the pool of talent that you hire for a job only comes from this certain select pool, you're going to get some really talented people, but you're also going to get a much higher probability of getting some absolute dildos for the job. And it doesn't matter if you say, let's say for a job, it's you're only allowed to hire, or we only select from white male applicants. Well, you're going to get some talented people out of that pool, but you're also going to get some absolute idiots who are completely unable to do that. Because what you need is a full, much broader pool that doesn't limit itself based on these ideological demographics. And then if you were to say, well, we're only going to hire from African American females, you're going to get some absolutely brilliant people to do these jobs, and you're also going to get some absolute idiots who can't do the job and just completely ruin it. And the revision to norm is we're going to accept people based on how well they can do the given task. Whether it's a sport, whether it's some sort of a work role, whether it's an academic thing. In the end, we're learning when you limit the pool of talent to pick from, you're still going to get talent, but the amount of talent is limited, and then in order to fill the slots and meet these ideological distortion goals, you're going to have to pick the idiots and the less than ideal ones to fill these slots. So that all said, humanity is going through these phases where we're trying different things. It goes with economic, say like economics and taxation. When you look at Great Britain, they're going through the practice of what happens when we implement policy on the basis of what it basically amounts to the politics of envy for political economic policy based on politics and ideological political distortions. And we're seeing what happens. And the reason there is a rise of, the far right in Europe and in the US is because so many people on the political left side embrace these distortions, and we're seeing how they don't work. Yes, you also have there's the dynamic of team politics. Well, my team, these aren't my team's policies, they're your team's policies, and they suck because they're not my team's policies. Of course you've got that. And of course you have an instance of, in every, this is the next point, in every single movement, normalcy exists inside of it. One example would be like, say, the transsexual identity. Back in, going from the last few years, I think going up to like 2022, where things hit the crest, 2020, 2021, 2022, into 2023, I think that's when the whole Bud Light thing happened. You have an instance where people were trying on, hey, there's this new identity that people are embracing. And within that, you had perfectly normal people who, for them, they're live and let live. This is how I live, and that's cool. You acknowledge it, you don't. Just don't be mean to me, right? And then what happened? People on the further end of the bell curve of participation and ideology and beliefs took it too far. They got a hold of the reins, right? They grabbed the steering wheel, and they went too far and started getting pushed in people's faces. And normal people got tired of that. They didn't want to push in their face. It's a case of, hey, that's fine. This is how you want to live. Okay, cool. But we don't want to have it. We don't want to have content and things related to a very small subcultural group treated like they're a quarter of the population and they're everywhere and everything. It was just too much. It was getting shoved into people's faces. And then the net result was, well, you had your pushback, but then, just like when it was going too far on the one side, on the other side, you have people who are on the far fringes of the pushback who said, yeah, we agree with this, and then now it's going into, yes, and now we're implementing policies that go too far and are too restrictive. And you get that with every single movement. There's normal people inside. Remember, there's normal people inside of every movement. But you have to be able to see through that. Yeah, it helps to be able to see things on that basis in order to say, hey, this is going too far. And have that awareness of when you're caught up in the team politics and when things are going too far and it's just ideological BS. And so there's a lot of things where through time, like humanity's tried a lot of stuff, like, hey, let's try socialism. Hey, let's try communism. Hey, let's try, God and religion. And those belief structures being the way we organize ourselves. And the thing, and what's interesting now is that more and more every day, people are becoming aware of the obvious things that are obvious, where we see and understand that Well, yeah, this is obvious. Why didn't we do it before? Because of these distortions we were trying out for different reasons. We wrap, and people get wrapped up where they embed their identities in these distortions. They wrap their beliefs and their ego so heavily into it that it becomes vested, whether they should or not. But they do. And that makes it harder, and that creates a lot of friction and drama. But in the end, it's okay, because we're going to survive these tests. And also, this is the part of trial and error in being human, in figuring out what is the best way to live, what is the ideal way to structure cultures and civilizations in human society so that it thrives, has the least amount of pain, and we essentially make ourselves into a successful species on this planet. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover, and I did it here because by the time I get home after running errands after work, it's probably going to be gone from my mind, and my attention will be dragged elsewhere. So if you stuck through this, I appreciate it. But with that, you can follow the Chronicler's Tale on all the social media websites listed in the show notes. And with that, be well, everyone. Talk to you soon.